I've always been fascinated by the River Thames. It runs right through the place where I was born, London, where my family have lived for 300 years. I'm on the top of the world. Now I'm going to get to know it even more intimately to find out what makes this one of the greatest rivers in the world. I'm walking the Thames, discovering how it became a gateway to the world. Whoa! I never thought I would be so impressed by a large amount of sugar. I didn't realise quite how glorious it would be. This way! And meeting people whose lives revolve around the river. Want to lie down?
I'm a poulter, Tony, fish poulter, man and boy.
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? This was the first police force in Britain.
We've got an unexploded bomb.
We're going up to have a look at it.
Absolutely.
Great. I'm now on my home turf in the East End of London, on the bit of the river that was once the working powerhouse of the Thames, with its docks and warehouses. From here in Wapping, I'll head on to Canary Wharf, cross south of the river to historic Greenwich and visit the Thames Barrier, before finally ending my journey at the point where the river becomes the sea. Imagine that ship multiplied by 1,000, and imagine them all parked up on this stretch of the river. So many that you could get from one side of the Thames to the other just by hopping from deck to deck. That's what it would have been like. This section of the river at Wapping is known as the Pool of London. At its peak in the 18th and 19th centuries, as a gateway to the world, it's where all the ships would gather, waiting to unload. And think about all the valuable goods that there would have been lying around on the deck. So many that this place would have acted as a magnet to every thief and dodgy person who wanted to slip out at night and get something just a little bit nice. Back then, there were no police. That is until 1798, when things got so bad that the merchant companies formed their own uniformed deterrent on the river. It was so successful, it led to the creation of the police force as we know them today. Nice shirt.
Good afternoon, Tony, and welcome to the Marine Policing Unit.
Thank you very much. Yeah, very. Am I going to get a ride?
You are.
I'm going out on patrol with Inspector Stuart Simpson.
Let's get you on the boat.
With the thoroughly high-tech Marine Police.
We're still in the original police station from 1798.
Really?
Rumour has it some of the police officers are still there. Where we are now, this is London Pool, and there was ships from all around the world used to come up and get rid of their cargo into Wapping and the East End of London. What used to happen was the people that used to unload the vessels, the lumpers and the lightermen, weren't as honest as they could be, and they were stealing the gear. And the Marine Policing Unit, back then it was called the West India Dock Merchant Planters Marine Policing Unit.
Why did it have such a long name?
West India Dock was a shipping agent, and they funded 4,500 guineas they put up in order to secure their product that they were bringing around the world.
Originally funded by the City of London?
Absolutely not. And it was very different in that it was preventative policing. So it was actually putting a police officer out there to stop and prevent. It's written down in history that the Marine Policing Unit is the forerunner to the modern policing methods.
200 years ago, it's estimated that of the 33,000 dock workers, almost a third of them were on the make. The creation of a police force brought a swift end to the massive losses, and within a year, they'd paid for themselves. But there wouldn't be so much nicking off the ships now, presumably. Long, thoughtful pause.
I was going to say, I think the thieves are still out there.
Does organised crime impact much on the river?
It does very much so. We will use our divers to look at the underside of vessels to make sure that no contraband comes up the gateway into London. Over the last 5 or 6 years, got somewhere in the region of 6 tonnes worth of drugs, which was intended for London streets as well as UK streets.
Looking round with your policeman's eyes, is there anything around here that you think, I'll just give that an extra look and make sure it's all right?
I'm always looking with my policeman's eyes, and I'm always very inquisitive. but it's safe to tell you, I've just had a scan and there's nothing to look out for at the minute. We're quite safe.
I think Stuart spoke too soon.
Right.
Do we know what that fuss is all
I
about?
don't know, we're just going to find out.
My interview's definitely on the back burner now.
We've got an unexploded bomb down at Erith from, I believe, World War II, so we're going to make our way.
We're going up to have a look at it.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
Really great. Do you get that kind of call often?
We do. Since the Tideway Tunnel development has started,
Yeah.
they are digging deeper in the Thames than they've ever dug before. So a lot of the ordnance has been loosened.
You would have thought it would have all been dug up or something by now. Well, it's not often you're allowed to speed down the Thames. This rib can do over 60 miles an hour. At least I'm in safe hands. Of the 30,000 Metropolitan Police, only 65 ever make it to the elite Marine unit. During World War II, this area of the Thames, with its docks, warehouses and shipyards, was a major target for the Luftwaffe. During the Blitz of 1940, waves of up to 600 bombers dropped a total of 30,000 bombs on London, destroying swathes of the East End. And some that didn't go off are still being found. The police have dealt with 5 unexploded bombs in the last 6 months. Have we any idea how it was found?
We believe a member of the public was walking along the foreshore and they've seen what they thought was a piece of ordnance, and as a consequence we've called out our Expo colleagues.
Who are these experts?
These are former military guys who were in bomb disposal, now work for the Metropolitan Police, and they're based in central London, so they respond to any of these sorts of calls.
What's the police vessel doing?
The police vessels are putting in a 100-metre cordon. We can't get cops or put any cordon tape out, so we have to physically put a boat in to make sure that nobody goes in that and keeps that area safe and sterile.
So what happens now?
We've got enough Marine cops with us now who can hold that cordon, so we're going to head back into central London and look after central London.
Oh, so we won't be here when it explodes?
No, we won't.
I'm so disappointed. Let's get the hell out of here.
Let's do it.
And with that, I'm whisked back to Wapping, having experienced a very small part of the daily life of the historic Marine Police. From here, I head on to Canary Wharf, which in the 80s became London's modern financial district, which is ironic because it occupies the site of the West India Quay, part of the docks that made London wealthy in the first place. Harbours like this one were cut into the bank all round Wapping and the Isle of Dogs to provide moorings for the ships away from the crowded, hectic tidal river. The digging out of 3 inland docks here in the early 1800s allowed 600 ships to be handled at once, which decreased unload and load times from weeks to just days. And because the new warehouses were enclosed, theft was reduced, and that allowed the price of goods to drop. Suddenly, luxury items such as wine, tobacco, tea, and exotic fruit became affordable to ordinary East Enders. More enclosed docks were built along the Thames, and by the 1900s, London's docks were the largest and most successful in the world. I used to work around here in the 1960s, but it was completely different. You wouldn't recognise it. Not one of these buildings was here. In fact, the only thing that was the same, really, were these warehouses and the water, and it was so busy. This was the centre of international trade, and tied up all along here were Geordie coal boats, and I used to drive up in my little Austin A40 van with all my ship's provisions, and I'd skip along the gangplank, offload them all, come back, jump in the van again and drive off. Early morning on the Thames, and while most of London's 8 million residents are still fast asleep, there are a few for whom the day has already begun, including me. It's 4 a.m, not a time I'm used to being up nowadays, but I was when I was a teenager and used to work down the docks. A friend of my mum's had a ship's victualling company. Victualling's not a word that you hear much nowadays, but essentially it means supplying the ships before they go out to sea. So at this time of the morning, I would be collecting sides of lamb and enormous tins of beans and fish to take down the docks. This morning, I'm reliving my youthful days on the river by working as a porter at Billingsgate Fish Market. It's an opportunity to immerse myself in one of the last bastions of a trade that grew from the river. It's an industry steeped in history, tradition, and great characters, like Laurie, my mentor for the morning. Hey, Laurie.
Hello, Tony.
Hello, mate.
How are you?
All right.
Are you ready to be a fish porter for the day?
Yeah, I certainly am.
Okay, would you like a coat?
Yeah, I don't want to stink for the rest of the day.
There we go.
That's, so is it all lobsters?
It's going to be crab and lobster.
Yeah.
We also have, if you've ever seen these before, these are called razor clams.
Oh, yeah.
These are live.
They're still alive. These are
Lobsters,
beautiful here.
Yeah, these are Scottish lobsters.
Are they?
That one's got a different pigment.
It's a wonderful creature. Are we talking all day or we're going to do some work?
Let's do some work.
It's a porter's job to collect fish from the market
Away you go.
and deliver them to the waiting vans. Cool, we're out of the river. There are records of a fish market by the Thames as far back as Roman times.
I was born in Hackney.
I was born in Hackney.
It was fate. We were meant to meet, weren't we?
Billingsgate Market formally came into existence in 1699, over 300 years ago.
How about you put that nice halibut on there?
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? And for part of that time, it occupied a magnificent Italian-style riverfront building. By the early 1900s, it was the biggest fish market in the world. The surrounding streets clogged with horses and carts piled high with fish ready for deliveries across London. A bit like today. You can hear them wriggling around in these little boxes, can't you? Little claws on polystyrene.
Try and escape. Well done.
Back in again.
Back in, that's how it is every morning. In and out, in and out.
Billingsgate Market relocated to this new facility next to Canary Wharf in 1982. 25,000 tonnes of fish generate a turnover of over £200 million. Fish coming by road and air from all over the world.
Back in the day, in the old fish market in Lower Thames Street, the boats used to actually come up the Thames and moor right by the side of the market, and the porters used to walk across planks onto the boat. And in those days, everything was carried on your head.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you have ever seen a fish porter's hat, the original hats they used to wear, the leather hats. And they would, what we called, nut it.
And they come in like this and then they go doof.
Yeah, straight onto the stand, straight off the boats.
Those hats have long been replaced by a trolley.
One,
It's a bit more difficult, this, isn't it?
That's it. Back you come.
But that doesn't mean it's any easier covering this modern 13-acre site.
Right, and then a left.
It's been a busy shift, but the porters always find time for a rather special East End character.
OK, we're off to see the seal.
Sammy the Seal.
Does get quite well fed still every day.
Hello, sweetheart. Sammy's been a happy client at Billingsgate for the past 16 years.
I feed her every day.
He's got a heart of gold.
Even when I was in Cuba, I made a phone call to the firm to say, don't forget to feed the seal. Hello, darling, coming in.
Can Tony throw one in, please, Kate?
Yes, of course. Right, Tony.
Here you are, darling. Have a mackerel.
Coming up.
Come up. Hey, let's...
Well done, that's it.
What'd you do, Clay?
I'm a porter, Tony, fish porter, man and boy, about 37 years. Started down the old market when I was 18.
Yeah.
Little boy. Now I'm getting on to 57, still here.
What's better, the old market or the new one?
Old market, without a doubt.
Because?
It was proper East End, you know.
Yeah.
I do believe that the only job the Craig's had at one time, they was both porters down the fish market. Yeah, we used to have all the faces, all the boxes and
Michael
everything.
Caine.
Hello, my name is Michael Caine.
Yes,
he worked
in the
here for a
old
little while,
market as well.
down the old market.
How many days a week do you work?
5. We work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we don't work Sunday. We've never worked Sunday and Monday. Don't work Sunday and Monday.
That's funny, that, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's why you should never buy fish on a Monday, because it's never fresh.
yeah. It used to be.
I've learned something, haven't I?
Yeah.
This walk
Yeah.
is now worthwhile.
Yeah. left and right.
Left and right. It's always left and right. Are we all done?
There we go.
Oh, thanks a lot, mate. That was
You've had a wonderful morning's work. You're a natural.
It feels like about 6 in the evening now. See you.
Yeah,
See you guys.
You get used to it.
Hello.
Thanks very much, Tony.
Cheers.
Good luck.
From a part of the Thames steeped in working-class tradition, you cross to the opposite bank of the river via the foot tunnel and find yourself in an area that's rich in institutional tradition, Greenwich. This now World Heritage Site reflects our maritime prowess in spades. It's home to the National Maritime Museum, the Cutty Sark, once the fastest ship of its time. There's the Greenwich Meridian, that imaginary line that enabled us to navigate the seas successfully. And at its heart, the old Royal Naval College, which is where I'm heading. If you think the precise symmetry of the architecture is impressive, well, that's down to Sir Christopher Wren. It was originally built as a hospital for mariners back in the late 17th century. Later, it became the Navy's premier training college until it closed just 20 years ago. But for 125 years, this was the place all British naval officers received their education. During the Second World War, it also trained Wrens, in total turning out 35,000 battle-ready graduates. I've come to see the Painted Hall, which is under renovation. So there's a rare opportunity to get spectacularly close to a ceiling which tells the story of Britain's maritime and trading successes on the Thames. Gosh, truth, I knew that I was coming up here to have a look at an elaborately painted ceiling, but I didn't realise quite how glorious it would be. The room was originally designed to be the dining hall for the hospital, but with a lot more than meat and 2 veg on display. It's a real essay in naked bodies. There must have been quite a few crick necks and spilt soup over dinner. I'm meeting Conservation Director Will Palin. This job that they're doing here is absolutely massive, isn't it? What are they doing here?
They're doing a gentle surface clean with purified water as part of a massive conservation project here. 2.5 years in total, 40,000 square feet of painting to clean and conserve, and it has to be done with great care.
What specifically is it celebrating?
It's all about the power of our Navy underpinned by science, and in turn the Navy underpinning our mercantile prosperity.
So this is actually the language of the merchants?
I suppose it is. And of course we are at the commanding position on the River Thames.
Greenwich, of course.
And the significance here was traditionally this was always a place where great ambassadors or visitors to England would have had their first reception, their first welcome.
With its Baroque overtones, this may seem reminiscent of a Catholic chapel, but it's really the Protestants taking the mick out of the Catholics, with King William and Mary at the centre instead of religious icons. And at the far end of the room, there's the story of how the Thames contributed to Britain's wealth.
Here he is, Old Father Thames.
The old geezer going like this. So who's the nubile young person next to him?
That's the River Isis.
Oh, well, the Isis is the Thames, isn't it? That bit round Oxford.
Exactly.
So why have we got 2 Thameses?
She represents the calm, more beautiful part of the river, the younger part of the river.
The first 2 legs of my walk, actually. Mine was slightly less erotic than this, but it's got that kind of gentle feeling about it. And this is the Thames when it's older and mature and wiser.
And rougher and ruggeder. The river was quite a sort of tempestuous entity in that period, and he's stepping on an oar here.
Oh, yeah, I see that oar there.
And there's a sort of upturned urn with water and eels and fish coming out, so lots going on.
Isn't it? That's fantastic. That's my whole walk in a 300-year-old picture. From the Naval College, I push on along the river to the tip of the Greenwich Peninsula, where it appears the river is booming and crawling with 1,000 construction workers. The peninsula is undergoing a massive regeneration. £8.4 billion is being spent on 1.6 miles of river frontage. This is Britain's biggest urban redevelopment project. To get a view of what's going on, I'm taking a diversion onto the roof of the O2 Arena, a building that itself became a symbol for the resurrection of this once working heartland of the river. Way! I'm on the top of the world. This whole area is cut off from the rest of London by the great loop of the Thames, which goes all the way round here. So it was the perfect place to store the city's armaments. It became London's arsenal, hence the Woolwich Arsenal. The Woolwich Arsenal had a football team and they moved north of the river and finally became the Gunners. But from the Tudor period onwards, this was the place where they kept the dynamite and the guns, and later they made metal boats here. Then those huge transatlantic cables. In the 1960s, it was the biggest gasworks in the whole of Europe, that it fell into complete decline. Until in 1999, they built this, now called the O2 Arena, and a rebirth began. When this project's finished, it'll create 15,000 swanky apartments, 4,000 affordable homes, 13,000 jobs, 2 schools, and a population of 34,000. The Thames is again reinventing itself and shaping the communities of London. And once again, it's vibrant and full of life. From the O2, it's just 2 miles further along the river to the Thames Barrier. And finally, I've reached the official end of the Thames Path Walk, a total of 184 miles from where I started at the source of the river. This impressive-looking structure is designed to hold back dangerously high tides on the Thames by raising giant gates into the flow. Each gate is capable of holding back 90,000 tonnes of water. It was born in response to North Sea flooding in 1953. It caused 300 deaths, 32,000 people were evacuated, and in today's money, over £1 billion of damage. Since it was built, it's prevented London from being flooded 182 times. I remember watching the Great Flood of 1953 on the old black and white telly, with Canvey Island completely underwater and the Essex coast and people drowning. And I remember in the early 80s this weird and wonderful construction arising out of the Thames and thinking for some reason, oh, that's a white elephant, they'll never need that. Well, they have, and as sea levels rise, they will even more, which is kind of scary, but also in a way quite reassuring. This morning, I have an appointment with the Port of London Authority to learn more about the Thames as a working river. Their control room is right next to the barrier.
Tidal information, Silvertown 2.7 metres, 0.4 of a metre above prediction.
It's their job to keep the Thames as a waterway safe, monitoring and tracking all river traffic along 95 miles of the tidal Thames. They make sure there are no collisions between everything from rowing boats to container ships.
End of the broadcast, still on the VTS out.
Oh, look at that. There's Tower Bridge where we've been. There's Richmond Lock over there. A lot of ironwork.
This is Nick. He's one of our VTS officers.
Nice to meet you.
A VTS officer, what does that mean?
It's basically Vessel Traffic Services officer.
Yeah, yeah.
We actually cover from Crayford Ness, which is down at this point to the river, just up from the QE2 bridge,
yeah,
all the way through to Teddington.
Yeah.
And we're responsible for that area.
This is your manor?
That's our area, yeah, all the way up to the Teddington. Obviously, it's busier in central London with a lot of passenger boats, and the bigger stuff is obviously in the wider part of the river.
I've timed my visit to coincide with the arrival of a 50,000-tonne ship bringing in sugar from El Salvador. We've been tracking its 6,000-mile progress for weeks to make sure I don't miss it.
That's going to be the sugar boat called the Southwind, who's inward bound at the moment. She's out in the outer estuary, due up here at about 2:45 this afternoon.
How big's the sugar ship?
170 metres long, and he's got a draft of 10 metres. So there's 10 metres of metal below the waterline that you can't see. So if you look out the window now, there's a lot of mud, low water. We'll be waiting for high water, which gives her more sea room to navigate.
Oh, I see. So, like, if you arrive at the estuary and it's the wrong time of day and you're a big ship, you're not going to want to come in because you get stuck in the mud.
You have to plan your passage so that there's enough water underneath you to get up.
It's coming up to this berth that we can see from here?
Yeah, the one with the 2 blue and yellow cranes and the chimneys.
To get a closer look at how a big ship docks in the Thames... Hi, Paul.
Hello, Tony. Nice to meet you.
And you? Paul Arnold is taking me out on a patrol boat.
Yeah, we've got the ship coming into view now.
Let's have a look. Cool, yeah. It's a big old thing, isn't it? What is it that we're going to be doing?
We're going to be staying with the ship inward bound to the berth, making sure other vessels keep clear. And then the ship will connect up to the 2 tugs and manoeuvre for the Thames refinery.
On board, almost 30,000 tonnes of sugar. That's the equivalent of 27 million 1-kilogram bags. How long will it take the ship to turn around and get in position?
You're probably looking at about 20 to 25 minutes to manoeuvre the ship alongside.
It's nothing really, is it, given its weight and size? It's really docking with no effort at all. It's quite graceful. This is a picture of trading on the Thames that goes back a very long way, something Martin Garside of the Port of London Authority is keen to point out.
London was, of course, built around the River Thames. The first Roman ships that came up the Thames 2,000 years ago, from which the capital Londinium and then London grew from, that has not changed, and we're still bringing in ships for everything that Londoners and the population of London needs. So that's everything from the clothes you're wearing to the food you eat, to the fuel you put in your car, to the cars themselves, are brought into 70 different port terminals dotted all along the river.
The terminal where the sugar is being unloaded belongs to Tate & Lyle. It's been operating as a sugar refinery here for 140 years. Today they handle sugar from all over the world. The smell coming off all these extraordinary contraptions is absolutely amazing. Outside is an impressive bell that used to be rung to signal the start of each working day. I'm here to meet Bob Woods. You Bob?
Yes, Tony, yes. Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Good.
It's a good bell, isn't it?
Rung for every day it was.
Hung from a special post and rung at the start of each day's work. Am I supposed to...
You put the PPE on before we go around on site, please.
Hey, wow! This is a real wow. This is raw sugar, which is effectively crushed sugarcane. It's like the pyramids. I'm in ancient Egypt. That's incredible. How many of these little pyramids do you reckon there are?
There's probably 20 or 30 of these pyramids right the way through to the other side.
Wow. And this is all from one ship?
The first 3 pyramids we see all come from our El Salvador ship that's on the jetty.
The one that we've been following?
Yeah, that's one we're following.
Can I?
Yeah, go
am I allowed to touch it? And is this how it is when it comes off the boat?
Yeah, so this is raw, in the raw form.
Oh, it's like sand, isn't it? It doesn't feel like sugar.
Very fine.
Do you ever find things that shouldn't be there in these great big piles?
Probably the strangest thing we've ever found is a shoe flip-flop off a ship off Swaziland.
You're not going to end up with a flip-flop in your tea.
Hopefully not.
You feel you want to get the biggest spoon in the world and the biggest teacup.
But that's our biggest spoon.
The raw sugar will now be refined and turned into 650 different products ranging from white granulated sugar to golden syrup.
I never thought I would be so impressed by a large amount of sugar, but it's just ridiculous.
This refinery owes its origins to Henry Tate, who in 1878 bought the patent to make cubed sugar, then built his factory here to cash in on easy delivery by river and the lucrative London market. Bob also has a history here that goes back a long way.
How long have you been working here?
38 years.
How did you get the job in the first place?
Through my dad. My dad
Was he here too?
He worked here, yeah, done 51 years here. Met my mum here. Back in the day, yeah, they met. Two brothers and myself, so we're all sugar babies, really.
And what about your dad's parents?
Yep, Grandad worked here, and my nan. I had uncles, and it was all like an East End thing then.
I'm being taken by Bob to experience what it's like to operate the giant sugar spoons that unload the ships. I hadn't realised it would be so high off the deck.
And to your right, son.
Wow, you can see what they're lifting now, can't you? That must be about 2 tennis courts, mustn't it?
Yeah, it's about that. And there's 5 holds on this vessel.
And
so
how deep is each one?
It's about 10 metres.
Do I go straight in?
Yeah, straight in, son. Sit into the master chair.
Sit in here?
Yep.
Short wagon size, please.
Swing you around.
Fancy me being in charge of a crane.
The right lever.
Feel the force, Tony.
Oh, it's going.
A bit more ambitious and go a little bit quicker.
Are you sure?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to go through the bottom of the boat.
Bring her back towards you to bring her up.
Whoa! The old crane starts kicking, doesn't it? With the extra weight. It's not the topple forward, is it? Oh, my son.
It takes 2 experienced crane drivers 5 days to unload the ship.
Just swing it around.
Yep.
A bit longer if I'm at the controls.
Leaking a bit of sugar out the side, is that right?
We're okay, no one's looking.
Now, there is a slight problem, which is that it's swinging backwards and forward.
As she goes to swing back in, you can send the handle out to the right and she'll open it. Away you go.
All right.
That's it.
Open up, darling. Ah! Ah! I was overconfident.
Only a true crane driver can get sugar over the hopper.
Oh,
true
dear,
crane driver there, Tony.
Oh, there's a little pile of
we'll pick
sugar
that up
there,
later.
isn't it? Who, me? That was really intoxicating. There's so much power in those machines. The grab itself weighs 5 tons. And come over here, look. How many bags of sugar do you reckon I spilt there? Oh dear, I just didn't close the grab. Blimey, it's loads. I just didn't quite close the grab up tightly enough and it all went Pete Tong. Oh, hang on. And maybe sometime.
Just a mile along the river is where the Lyle bit of Tate and Lyle started. They joined forces in 1921 to market a byproduct created during the refining of sugar, golden syrup. The famous golden green tin with a lion on it is acknowledged as the world's oldest continuous brand packaging. And that feeling of tradition permeates the whole factory. Bear with me, things are about to get very noisy. Through this door is machinery from an era gone by, but which still makes all those famous tins.
Sheila, can you show me how this whole process works?
Yeah, this is actually where the cans are made.
Yeah.
The colours come in like this. So they're fed through this magazine here. Yeah, go through here, through here.
Enough! This way. And what happens here?
This is the part where they make the bottom and the top turn over, which they call a flanger.
It goes down there, then up again. Here we go again.
This wonderful Wallace and Gromit-style machine has been running for over 60 years.
Oh, look at this! That's glorious, isn't it? And what's happening here?
This is a vacuum wheel. If there's any defects, it'll fall off the wheel.
Oh, this is brilliant. Look, here they come. Then round.
Up this elevator, and that's where it's going to be filled with syrup.
Thank you. Do you want to lie down?
From here at the barrier, it's around 30 miles to the point where the Thames becomes the sea. Fortunately, the Port of London Authority have offered me a lift downriver. And as we head away from London, the Thames really begins to change. It's funny, at its source, the Thames is so tiny that you couldn't put any boat on it at all. And then as you come further down, you start seeing pleasure craft, and by the time you get to London, it's incredibly busy and there's all the hurly-burly. But as you get out towards the estuary, it becomes so broad, so kind of noble, and the water seems so much stiller. And you've got massive boats like our sugar ship going up and down it. It's hard to believe it's the same river as the one we started at. The estuary is seriously spacious, and just like so much of the Thames, is seeing a revival of wildlife, and in particular, seals.
Hi,
Hi, Tony. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So there you go. That goes through there.
I'm going out to get a closer look at them with Stephen Marsh of British Divers Marine Life Rescue.
Right, can we go?
We can go.
Stephen is the operations manager, coordinating volunteers on 24-hour call, helping marine mammals that get into trouble. For seals, they mainly rescue pups that have been separated from their mums. He knows the area and where to find the seals.
I used to come down here for weekends with my mate when I was a kid, and the one big difference is it used to be a real stink round here, and it just smells like the sea to me now.
It is. I mean, walking across that pathway 10 years ago, it would have stunk to high heaven then, but the Thames really, really has cleaned up so much in the last few years, and it's going on. There's still work going on to clean it further. So you're getting water that is of much more interest to fish. It's like, well, juvenile sea bass are coming into the Thames, cod, haddock, pollock, things like that. And they're coming back in as well.
Oh, they had no idea.
Yeah, they're coming back in. We've got seahorses out there as well, which is quite incredible.
What about this little fella on your badge?
Ah, this little fella. Well, the seals, we're going to see some seals today. In fact, the Thames estuary is now one of the very few areas in the UK where we're seeing an increase in the numbers. So they're out on the promontory. Do you want to have a look? Yeah.
There are two types of seals in the estuary, grey seals and these, the harbour seal.
There's quite a lot, aren't there?
Yeah, it's looking good.
Harbour seals are the smaller of the two species, but can still be almost 6 foot long and weigh 16 stone.
Oh, yeah. More here. Yeah. Come on, come say hello.
And like all marine mammals, they prefer to avoid humans, so we won't get too close.
You can see some of them are making that typical banana shape that seals make as well. And we get a lot of calls from people who are really upset because it's making that weird shape. We get a lot of problems with seals on the beach, people going up to them and saying, it's barking at me. And so, yeah, it's a wild animal. It doesn't want you to be close. So just move away from it and actually give it a bit of space.
It's such a pleasure when you see a small triumph like this one, isn't it? When my dad was young, the River Lee, which is one of the tributaries into the Thames, they used to call that the Rainbow River because there were so many different chemicals going into it that you never knew what colour it would be in the morning. And now it's clean enough to sustain these beautiful creatures. Result.
I wish all days at the office were like this. It's great, I love it.
Here, walking on the shore of the Thames, with Southend-on-Sea on the opposite bank, I'm sad to say my journey has come to an end. At the start of my walk, about 200 and odd miles in that direction, the Thames was a tiny spring. Then it became a little stream, then a river big enough for boating, then the artery through our country's capital, then a mature, meandering river and estuary, and finally, this gigantically impressive 5-mile wide river mouth. But I must admit, when I've remembered what the Thames was like when I was a boy, busy but dirty, crowded but crumbling and hideously polluted. The good news, though, is that what I've seen is the start of a new Thames, a Thames that's full of fish, where wildlife are cared for, where there's been investment in the paths and the pleasure craft. And my bet is, as the roads get busier, as water becomes more precious, we'll once again begin to see the Thames as the vital river highway it once was.